Hi, good day. How are you? Had a good day? Did you? Good evening. My name is Eric. Thank you so much for choosing to hang out with me. Eric's stories is about that. Yes, stories about me from my perspectives, things I've read, I like to share with you. And I love to hear your mind about these conversations because they help me grow as well. If it's your first time here, thank you so much. Please feel really appreciated. I do these for you and I, for us, for both of us. So thank you. I've been thinking a lot about marriage again, and I happened upon an article, I think it was by Business Daily, about the divorce rate having gone up in most African countries, including right here at home in Kenya. And you know, the numbers are always off the roof in the West. And so I started thinking about marriage, even how I used to perceive marriage in my yesteryears as a younger man. You know, when I was growing up, if you asked me to pick a woman, I would immediately go to the, physical features. Nothing wrong with that. Most men from research are wired like that. So I'd look for the lightest woman in the room, and then maybe with a very intense posterior. That is then. But then in the later years, as I turned maybe 20s, mid 20s, I started dating, different kinds of people. I was not very linear. I started dating and seeing and knowing people for things outside of just those very linear things. And so I've been thinking about the reasons why we get married. And, every time you sit around, especially married people, the next immediate question is, so what's the problem? Where can we help? When are you doing it? And rarely do people talk about why somebody should stay single or why somebody should get married. All right? I think maybe in a tentative conversation, we should talk about why you are fit for being single and not being paired, I think. There are people who have character traits for just remaining by themselves. But I want us to have a conversation about things to consider before you pair up with somebody for marriage. And with tremendous respect, if you're married and you're watching this, they say to know the road ahead, ask those coming back or people who've traveled that route. So please, let's make it interactive. Somebody might learn from your wisdom. Nobody has life figured out. So if you can share with me on the comment section, it goes a long way. All right? I love women so much. Women try much as they can to pull the hand of another woman, a girl. Men, rarely, men can be so drab. They keep to themselves. I don't know, maybe because of many causes, maybe because men don't reach out to other men. But please, if you're a woman or even a man in marriage, I really hope that we can learn from your wisdom and experience, because I'm not yet married, but I hope to learn from you. But in my yesteryears, I started to really interrogate my mind about the reasons I would want to get married, or if at all I'd even want to get married. And so I sat down, I remember in my late 20s, and I was jotting down things that I thought were important from having dated by then maybe two women and having been brutally dumped by, I think, one then. So I thought to myself that while we can't figure life out in its entirety, there are things we can do so that we are not caught flat-footed, so we are not ill-prepared. And I think you can never go wrong preparing, all right? You diminish your chances of failure when you prepare, okay? There's a Swahili proverb, I forget, but they say if you want to arrive on time, maybe you leave earlier. Or a Chinese one that says, for you to make the road shorter, you have to leave earlier, something along those lines. So things to consider before you marry him or her is a conversation I want us to have from my perspective. A very little reference. This is just things I've thought as myself from my relationship and experiences that are worth considering, either in terms of your individual thoughts or things you bring up with your significant other before walking down the aisle. And again, a special plea if you're married, to share your mind with me. I want to learn from you. I've been thinking that it's important to ask yourself and your partner before you get married. And as I said, these are notes I made myself a bunch of years ago. And it's very important to me. It would be different from you. Can I talk to this person openly? honestly and intelligently well into my old age? And I think if the answer to that question, for me at least, is no, then I don't think I'd want to settle with somebody I cannot speak with. I love conversing and exchanging ideas. All right. So if it's very short lived, and that's how I had to make a switch from my quest for a generous posterior and somebody who's light skinned to somebody who has maybe something between their ears. So that's important to me. Why do you want to be married? I think is an important question that I still keep asking myself to this day. Why would you want to be married? Before I ask these of another person, I think it's important to consider these for yourself. Why? What is your why? What is it? Apart from your mom asking you and your uncle asking you and you feeling like you've attained the age to be married. What is your other why? I think that's very important. Don't you think? How adaptable are you to change? I think this is very important. You're right? How adaptable are you to change? Are you all in? Supposing, God forbid, one of us got into an accident. Supposing there's unemployment. Supposing there's a death in the family. I was dating this woman. We were just getting to know each other at that time. And then I left the country. And then I had to come back because my mother died. And that, my mother's death, changed everything. I remember her telling me, you know, I'm happy to even take you to go bury her. And I just changed. I just, as often as death does, that icy feeling never quite leaves you. So I did a 360-degree turn. My life never was the same again from that experience. And it really changed me. And I would imagine if I were married then, I don't know how I would have related to my partner. All right. So are you all in? Supposing we have a fatal disease, potential fatal disease, chronic illness, are you all in or are you just partially in? Are you non-participatory? Are you peripheral? Or do you really, really, really want in completely? That's a very important question, I think. What will you do if we can't have children the normal way? If we can't conceive the normal way, what will you do? Are you considering adoption? Is fertility treatment something you're open to? It's a very important conversation to have within yourself and also have with your partner. I think it's very important. All right? These I've found when I was dating that are really important, what can I call them? Character traits to try and practice. All right? How forgiving are you? How helpful are you? Those are so important. I used to date this woman who would text me in bold, you know. So she texted me in bold and I'd tell her, look, I don't wear glasses. I have impeccable eyesight. Stop texting me in bold. And it used to really infuriate me. And she said I was angry. And then she texted me again in bold and text me again in bold and text me again in bold. And so I learned very quickly that you have to be so forgiving. In fact, I remember somebody once, we were having a conversation and their parents were celebrating 39 years of marriage. And they asked their mother, or is it their father, what is the secret? And they say you have to be perpetually forgiving. And then you have to almost have amnesia. So you forget the wrongs these people have done. And I think it's true. Because I used to want to get out of my skin with these women's bold texts. I thought them rude, you know. So if that was my wife, you can't abandon them with the children. You just some way have to find a way around them texting you in bold. I don't know. So I think how forgiving a person is goes a long way. Are they flexible? Flexibility must be something you factor in, I think. Are they persevering? Are they optimistic? One time I was completely out of pocket, again in the same relationship of the bold texter, and I was looking for a house because I just moved back from the country. And I said to them, oh, by the way, the house I was looking for has, somebody has just been kicked out and they couldn't make rent. So I'm moving into that house. And they said something in the lines of, even if you don't pay rent, you'll be kicked out. Something so cold. And I was like, alrighty, ice queen. So I think sometimes optimism goes a long way. Yes, maybe the present moment I'm trying to hook up money, but it doesn't mean you have to be weird about it, you know. So I think there's a conversation to be had about optimism. Do you trust them? You know, I think that goes a long way. A sense of humor is something I've learned helps. I think you can laugh. If you can laugh together, you can surmount some of the toughest things life can present to you. So a sense of humor goes a really long way during the good, the bad, and the ugly times. You right? This is very important, I think. Are you both clear about your sexual orientation? I think this is very important. Is there anything you desire in your relationship sexually that you're not experiencing now? Do they scratch your itch? Do they, people are up there who, people will be up there who they are down here. So if they're barely, if scratching the surface now while dating, it's going to be a problem during marriage, I think. All right? So these are some of the things I've been thinking about. I am trying to learn more about, of course, somebody told me the other day, oh, you know, nobody has marriage figured out. I get that. But we can have conversations that can prevent failure, can't we? All right? In closing, I read something I want to share with you. There's a guy, his name is David Buss. He's an evolutionary psychologist. And this should especially help a young man who used to think like me. And in his finding, he did a wonderful research that spanned 37 cultures and went all over the world in a whole 5 years. So I think he's worthy of some salt. From West Germany all the way to Taiwanese, to Mbuti, Pygmies. And he discovered the following. He discovered that in every culture, it's not a Kikuyu, Luo, or Caucasian thing. He discovered that in every culture, women are less concerned with a potential husband's visual appeal and instead more interested in his material resources and social status. You need to get that. You need to get that. In every culture, he said, according to Buss's study and other scientists worldwide, men prefer the following. Men prefer physical attractive wives between the ages of 20 and 45 who are an average of 2.5 years younger than they are. All right. Of course, it would vary or rather differ from man to man. They also want potential long-term mates to have clear skin. This is what men want globally. Bright eyes, full lips, shiny hair, curvy hourglass figure. And these are markers or fecundity or fertility. So full lips, shiny hair, curvy hourglass figure is what men were asking for. But women are really concerned about social status and material resources. So then, if you're out of pocket, maybe you want to busy yourself getting your ducks in a row in terms of money. And so that you are somebody. So that maybe you can attract somebody who would be attracted to you in your fullness. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. Of course, this is just from my reading and my personal thoughts. What is it as a married person you think a single man and a single lady must factor in terms of conversation or even their thought processes so that they were not sold into this foolish bliss of, oh, I love them, oh, it's going to be nice, oh, we'll walk down the aisle, that's amazing. But what are the things, if you're married, please share with me. I want to hear your mind. Thank you so much. Good evening and have a lovely night.